Welcome back to Realize Displays training. This is part 2 for maximizing the use of your playlists. And today we're going to be talking about scheduling. Now, scheduling is one of the most important tools for saving you time because it allows you to set any page inside of your playlist to start and expire off of the display at any time. It also will let you set recurrence between any of your messages that may need to play over and over again. So we're going to talk about how to automate your playlists today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. To access the scheduling inside of your playlist, all you need to do is click on any one of your slides, then click the gear, and then you'll see a checkbox for limit moments of playback. When you check that, it will open up your scheduling toolbar. Now the from and the through are kind of your start and your expiration date. So when I click on it, you'll have a calendar dialog that opens, and you can choose when you would like this specific page to start playing, and then when you would like it to stop playing. Now, if you just leave it blank, that means there will be no end date, and it will continue to play on and on forever. You can also select specific weekdays or days of the week that you would like this message to recur on. So let's say this is only Monday and Tuesday, then we would unselect the rest of the days of the week, and it will be expired when those come along, and then reactivate and show on your screen for Mondays and Tuesdays. Now, whenever you activate the scheduling panel, what you'll want to do is make sure that you set the start time and the end time. The default is 1 hour between 10 and 11 a.m. So if you'd like this message to play all day on Monday and Tuesday, you would set your timing from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Now, when you select the AM and PM, all you need to do is press the up or the down arrow to change it from AM to PM. Now, when I click save, you'll notice that a green clock appears over the page. Now, the green clock means that this page is currently active in its schedule, literally according to the time that it is right now that you're viewing your playlist. Now, there are a variety of different clock colors that are very helpful to you, that when you view your playlist, they will give you an immediate status at a glance of which slides are playing, which ones are expired, and which ones have yet to play. Let's take a look at a quick graphic that I've created to help us out. Again, as you can see, the green clock means that this page is currently eligible and is being shown inside of the playlist. An orange clock means that the date range, either the start or the end time, falls within the range of when it should play, which means the date range is active. However, the day or the time slot is not within the current boundaries. So I'll show you how that works in just a second. And then we have a black clock. When that shows, that means your page will not show until a future date, which means it has not been played yet, and it is not eligible to be shown until a future time. And then finally, the gray clock means that your page has expired and has no other plans of being shown inside of your display at all. So you can either remove it from your playlist at your leisure, or you can reschedule it if you'd like to set another time when you'd like it to show. Let's go ahead and apply each of these settings to each of our pages, and let's see if we can get the right colored clocks to show up on them. First off, let's make a red clock appear with this schedule. Right now it is 6:45 p.m. on October 17th. So we will click the gear, click open our scheduling, and then to make the red clock appear, all we need to do is satisfy the fact that the start and the end date are within range. So I can either leave these blank, or I could select a date range, let's say it would start as of yesterday and play through Thursday of next week. Now, even if I unselect Tuesday, which is the day today, or have a different time, when I click save, we have a red clock. And again, that is only because the date range still makes this eligible to play. So the date range allows this to remain active. Even if I click the Tuesday back on, and then if I change the time, let's say, to a time that does not work. So let's say that this would end at 5 p.m. Even though Tuesday is selected and today is Tuesday, the timing is not eligible today because it is around 6:45 today. So when I click save, we still have that red clock. Now, moving on to the next slide, let's set this slide to play at a future date. So what we need to do is set our starting date, which is our from, anytime in the future that is not today. So let's just set it for tomorrow. And then the rest of these settings don't even matter because this slide is not even eligible to even be scheduled until tomorrow. So once I click save, we now have a black clock. Now the gray clock cannot actually be created because to have a gray clock over a slide, it means that slide schedule has expired and it is no longer playing. If I click open a slide and I try to set the expiration or the ending date to a previous date, you'll notice that all of these are grayed out. So I can't actually set a slide to play or be expired on the schedule. But just so for the sake of example, what I've done in this portrait playlist is I've already set a slide that has expired yesterday. So this is what the gray clock will look like. So anytime you have an expired slide that will no longer and has no plans of ever being shown yet, it will show as expired with the gray clock. Now, if we click back into our main playlist, if we preview these slides, the preview will follow the schedule according to what time it is right now that you're viewing it. So if we were to preview this right now, we would see our weather. This slide would be skipped. This slide would also be skipped because it's not scheduled. And we would go right into the menu. So just to test how this works, I'm going to click preview and we'll watch the weather go right into the menu slide and skip over those middle ones. Okay, so here is our menu, our weather. And now we are right into our menu slide. So it skipped right over the other ones because it is not scheduled to play. So keep that in mind as you are previewing your content. If you would like to actually see how these play, all you need to do is click into them and maybe turn off their schedule and turn it back on as soon as you need it again. Now, another feature of the software is that the playlist will recognize when you have duplicate slides. Now, duplicate slides are not a bad thing. In fact, I encourage them to get the most out of your display. Sometimes instead of creating a longer duration for a slide that's really important, maybe you just want a shorter duration and you'd like to duplicate the slide. Let's pull in this small video slide and let's drop it in between the other slides. So now I have two duplicate slides, and you'll notice when I dropped in the copy, it put in the schedule right away for me, the exact schedule that is on the first one. That's because the playlist will assume that anytime you're going to show duplicate content, you would like all copies of that content to show at the same time. Now, this doesn't mean you don't have to, this doesn't mean that you can only have one schedule per slide. I can actually go in and click on this duplicate, turn off the schedule, click save, and now you'll notice that this slide is scheduled, but the other duplicate slide still has its schedule, but this one will play at all times. So the nice thing about this is now when I go and drop another duplicate slide in there, the last time I did not set a schedule for the slide, so this new slide added in does also not have a schedule attached to it. So it will look at the last scheduling preference that you had for any duplicate slides. Now, again, this can be helpful because you may want to show important content maybe a couple times throughout your playlist, and that's perfectly fine. And if you don't want them, just drag them right out. Now, scheduling can be very useful. As you can see, each of these pages will be shown according to a different time. It doesn't matter if they have a shared background or not. The one thing to keep in mind, if you are going to set or use the feature of a foreground layer, again, caution, watch another video for the proper usage of a foreground layer. But when you are scheduling, you'll notice you cannot actually schedule a foreground layer. You can only edit it. So keep in mind if you are going to put this slide in here, the reason is that this will show over the top of every single slide in your playlist, regardless of which one they are. So this will literally be on top of and will cover up even certain items in those slides. Now let's go look at a different example because now that we have some scheduling, a real-time example of how someone might use this is for showing a breakfast and a lunch menu according to a certain time. So what I did is I already went ahead and created a folder for our menu items. In a previous video, we created our menu slide, and all I did was duplicate it essentially 3 times and make one of them blank so I can use it as a template for the other 2. Which will allow me to simply just copy and paste different menus over the top of it as a template. Now I already did this with the breakfast, so we're just going to click right into it. I have my breakfast information menu here. It's hard to see because it is white. But what I'll do is I'm just going to populate the background with that background template page that I created. So you can find this in a previous video as well of how to use a shared background. Here is the blank menu template that I have created. Now when I click Use Selected Page, it puts it behind everything else. And now I see the text and information of my breakfast menu set. If I click Save and Back, now I have a lunch and a breakfast menu, which can be set for different times so that they appear specifically when we are serving them. I'm going to click Add, go to a blank playlist, set this one as a menu, click Edit. Now if I were to drop both of these slides in, I can set the breakfast slide to play at all times, or maybe Monday through Friday, maybe our restaurant is not open on the weekends, from 6 a.m. until let's say 11:30 p.m. Or I'm sorry, a.m. That would be a long breakfast. Okay, so as expected, we have our red clock because as of this moment, it is 6:55 p.m. Now let's set lunch to start at 11:30 a.m., which is right when the breakfast menu stops. And then for now, for the sake of example, we're going to set it for 7 p.m. Even though that is a late lunch, what we'd like to do is simply save it so that we can see that green clock. Now, if we were within our work hours, all I would need to do is open up my menu, and I can immediately see which and verify which menu is currently active according to our current serving hours. So that concludes how to schedule pages within your playlist and set them for recurrence. Hopefully this helps you save a lot of time in the future. In the next video, we'll be talking about how to schedule entire playlists within a channel. Have a great day.